They say you can meet someone 1,000 times, but there's always one day, one moment, when everything changes. This isn't a fairy tale. It's not perfect, but it's real. And this is the story of how one summer, one girl, and one friendship became the love that defined my life, even if it didn't turn out the way I thought it would. I was 22, just out of college, the kind of age where the world feels wide open but terrifying all at once. It was July in Boston, humid and restless, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was working nights unloading trucks at a warehouse, crashing on a friend's couch, and wondering if all those years of school had been for nothing. That's when I met Maya. We were at a 4th of July barbecue hosted by a mutual friend. Red plastic cups, smoke from the grill, somebody's uncle setting off fireworks too close to the crowd. Maya was standing off to the side, wearing a faded baseball cap, sipping lemonade from a mason jar. She wasn't the loudest person there, but she had this presence, like she was observing the whole scene and secretly writing it down. We started talking. About nothing at first. Music, books, how neither of us really wanted to be at that barbecue. But by the end of the night, it felt like I'd known her forever. When the fireworks started, she looked up at the sky, then at me, and said, "Isn't it weird how people wait for one night to celebrate, when every day is just as fragile?" I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning. That summer, we became inseparable. We weren't dating, not officially. We were just us. Friends who spent every free minute together. Long walks by the Charles River. Cheap iced coffees at corner cafes. Endless conversations about who we wanted to be and what we were afraid of becoming. Maya wanted to be a journalist. She had this notebook she carried everywhere, scribbling down quotes, snippets of overheard conversations, even silly things I said. She believed in capturing moments. I, on the other hand, didn't believe in much of anything. My plan was to figure it out later. But with her, later didn't matter. She made now enough. One night, sitting on a rooftop watching the city lights, she turned to me and asked, "Do you ever feel like we'll look back at this and realize it was the best time of our lives?" I laughed. "I hope not. I hope the best is still ahead." But she just smiled like she already knew something I didn't. It would have been easy to fall in love with her that summer. In a lot of ways, I think I already had. But we were young, unsure, and scared of ruining what we had. There were late nights when her head rested on my shoulder, moments when our hands brushed and lingered a second too long. But neither of us crossed that line. It was easier to pretend we were just friends than risk saying out loud what we both felt. The summer ended with a promise. She was moving to New York to chase journalism. I was staying behind, still drifting. On her last night, we sat by the river, quiet. She finally said, "Promise me, no matter what happens, we'll stay in touch. We'll always be in each other's lives." And I promised. But life has a way of testing promises. The next few years blurred. I bounced between jobs, retail, temp work, odd gigs. Eventually, I landed something steady in marketing, though I hated it. Maya, meanwhile, was thriving. She was writing for small papers, then bigger ones, traveling, meeting people, living the life she'd always talked about. We stayed in touch at first. Long phone calls, endless emails. But slowly, the calls got shorter. The emails less frequent. Not because we didn't care, but because life is loud, and distance makes it easy to put things off. Every time we did reconnect, though, it was like nothing had changed. We'd laugh at the same dumb jokes, complain about the same things, and fall back into that familiar rhythm. But under it all was a tension neither of us named. That "what if" hung in the air every time we spoke. 5 years later, we saw each other again. She was back in Boston for a conference. We met at our old coffee shop, the one with wobbly tables and terrible Wi-Fi. When she walked in, I swear the whole room shifted. She looked older, more polished, but her smile was the same. We talked for hours. About her articles, my job, our friends. But eventually, there was a pause. That heavy, familiar silence. She looked at me and whispered, "Do you ever think about us?" My heart pounded. I wanted to tell her yes. Every day. But instead, I laughed it off. We were kids. That was a different lifetime. She smiled sadly. Maybe. And just like that, the moment passed. Over the next few years, we kept weaving in and out of each other's lives. A wedding here, a funeral there, random visits when she was in town. Every time, I thought, this is it. This is when I finally tell her. But I never did. There was always an excuse. She was seeing someone. I was too busy. The timing wasn't right. And then one day, I found out she was engaged. She invited me, of course. Said she couldn't imagine the day without me there. I went, dressed in a suit that didn't fit right, smiling through gritted teeth as she walked down the aisle. She looked radiant, happy, like she'd found her forever. During the reception, we danced. Just one song. She leaned in and whispered, "You'll always be my best friend." And I smiled. But inside, I wondered if I'd just lost the love of my life. Years passed. She moved away with her husband. I stayed in Boston, built a quiet life. Career, apartment, routine. And then, one winter morning, I got the call. Her husband had passed away suddenly. She was back in town, grieving. I didn't know what to say. But I showed up. With coffee. With silence. With the same shoulder she'd leaned on all those years ago. Slowly, over months, we rebuilt. Not what we had before. Something deeper. Something shaped by loss, by time, by everything we'd been through separately. And one night, sitting across from her at the same coffee shop where it all began, she reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "We wasted so much time, didn't we?" I squeezed her hand. Maybe. Or maybe we just needed the time to get here. It's been 10 years since that night. 10 years of mornings and laughter and arguments and forgiveness. 10 years of love, the kind that isn't perfect, but is real. Looking back, I realize it was never about one day. It was about every day. The ordinary ones. The messy ones. The ones we thought didn't matter. Because love isn't about timing or fate. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's hard. And if I've learned anything, it's this: don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't let fear steal years from you. If you love someone, tell them. Because one day might be too late. So, if you're listening to this right now, wondering whether to reach out, whether to take that chance, do it. Life doesn't hand us guarantees. But it does hand us moments. And sometimes, one moment is all it takes to change everything.